I never thought a single scarf could unravel a lifetime of sacrifices. But there it was, dangling from Emily's manicured fingers like a noose she'd tied herself. "This is cheap-looking," she sneered, her voice cutting through the crackle of the fireplace and the forced laughter of our extended family. "Did you knit this yourself or raid a flea market?" The room froze, ornaments on the tree glinting like judgmental eyes. And in that instant, I saw the truth. She'd been bleeding me dry for years, and I was done playing the fool. That Christmas Eve in our sprawling McMansion outside Seattle, think evergreens dusted with frost and the distant hum of I-5 traffic, I felt the first crack in my armor. Emily, my daughter-in-law of 5 years, had always been a chameleon, flipping from sweet sorority girl to cutthroat climber faster than you can say Black Friday sale. But calling out my handmade gift, that was the spark. I'd poured 80 hours into that woolen thing, yarn from a Washington sheep farm, every stitch a thread of the love I'd lost when Mark's father died in that logging accident up in the Cascades.
Cheap? No.
Darling, that was priceless. And by dawn, as eggnog stains dried on the carpet, I was already plotting how to make her pay, starting with the $200,000 college fund I'd socked away for her Ivy League dreams. What she didn't know, what no one did, was that I'd been carrying her sins on my back since the day she crashed into our lives. Secrets buried deeper than the Puyallup River mud. Crimes I'd confessed to in a Tacoma courtroom to shield her perfect future. Revenge isn't served cold, it's fermented in the marrow of your bones. And mine had been marinating since that rainy night in 18 when everything went to hell. Call me June Harlan. 57 years young, or so my Pilates instructor insists, with a corner office overlooking Puget Sound that screams self-made widow. Mark's dad,
Tom,
left me the logging company after that chainsaw kicked back and turned him into a statistic, OSHA violation. They called it, but I knew it was just bad luck on a bad day. I clawed my way from bookkeeper to CEO, turning Harlan Timber into a sustainable empire that supplies half the Pacific Northwest's eco-friendly lumber. Board meetings in flannel and pearls, lunches at Salish Lodge with deals sealed over huckleberry pie. That's the American dream, right? Hustle hard, love fierce, forgive sloppy. Mark was my anchor. 28, broad-shouldered like his old man, with that easy grin that could charm a union rep into overtime. He met Emily at UW, her in marketing, him in forestry engineering. She was all golden waves and yoga pants, the kind of girl who quotes Brené Brown at brunch, but ghosts her therapist.
Mom.
She's the one, he said after 3 months. And I believed him, because love makes fools of us all. Wedding at Alki Beach. Sunset vows with fairy horns as applause. I footed the bill. Naturally, $85K. Including the string quartet that played Wonderwall because Emily insisted it was ironic. But cracks showed early. Emily dropped out of her master's program after a semester, citing burnout. But I smelled something sour. Mark covered for her, saying she needed space to find herself. Find herself? Honey, at 25, you're supposed to be building, not navel-gazing. Still, I played the doting MIL, hosting Sunday suppers with Dungeness crab and stories of Tom's glory days. Emily laughed at the right spots, but her eyes, always scanning, like she was pricing the silverware. The real rot started in the fall of 18. Mark was interning at the company, Emily crashing at our guest house while she job hunted. One night, thunder rattling the Olympics. I got the call, state trooper on the line, voice like gravel.
Ma'am.
Accident on State Route 167. Your daughter-in-law's involved. You might want to come down. hard in my throat. I threw on raincoat and boots, hydroplaning south through sheets of Pacific deluge. Tacoma generals are smelled like bleach and regret, beeping monitors. A janitor mopping up what looked like yesterday's bad decisions. Emily sat in a curtained bay, split lip and a sprained wrist, but alive. Mark was there, pale as birch bark, holding her good hand. "Mom," he whispered. "It was my fault. Bullshit." The trooper pulled me aside. Black ice. They said, but her BAC was .12, 3 times the limit. She'd T-boned a minivan full of soccer moms heading home from practice. The van flipped. One kid, 8 years old, didn't make it. Concussion for the driver. Fractures for the others. Emily's Subaru was totaled, but she walked away with scratches. Reckless endangerment, the report read. Possible vehicular manslaughter. I should have let the chips fall. Called her bluff. Watched her pretty life crumble under headlines. UW alum kills child in drunk driving horror. But Mark begged. She's family now.
Mom.
We'll make it right. Emily sobbed. Mascara rivers. Promising AA meetings and therapy. And me, the fool who raised a boy to protect his own. I lawyered up best DUI firm in King County and cut a deal. Community service for her. A fat settlement from my insurance to the family. But the real gut punch? The judge wanted jail time. 6 months. Minimum. Unless someone else took the fall. A guilty plea from a witness who swerved into traffic. That witness?
Me.
I'd been out for a drive, testing a company truck, when Emily appeared out of nowhere. My statement painted her as the victim, me as the screw-up. I pled no contest to the DUI first offense. They called it and did 90 days in county lockup. House arrest after. Ankle monitor chafing like a bad conscience. Lost my license for a year. Drove Ubers in disguise just to feel wheels under me again. Harlan Timber's stock dipped 15% on the CEO scandal. Whispers in the break room about boozy broads running the show. Emily? She got probation. A slap on the wrist and a halo from the pity party. Mark spun it as our fresh start, but I saw the flicker in her eyes, gratitude laced with something sharper. Like she'd filed it away for leverage. I never told a soul the truth. Not Mark. Not my sister in Spokane. Not even Father O'Malley at St. Mary's. It was my gift to them, a clean slate stained with my blood. Fast forward to Christmas 23. I'd rebuilt, bigger office, fatter bonuses, therapy bills that rivaled a down payment on a condo in Belltown. Emily was back in school, night classes at CW, gunning for that MBA. I'd set up the fund 2 years prior, $200,000, vested in low-risk bonds, earnings from Tom's life insurance and my overtime grind. For your future, I told her over coffee at Pike Place, watching gulls fight over fish guts. Pay it forward,
Kiddo.
She hugged me. All vanilla lotion and lies. The gift? That scarf. Merino wool. Dyed indigo like the sound at midnight. Pattern I'd charted from Tom's old fishing maps, waves crashing into knots that looked like anchors. 80 hours over 3 months. Stolen from sleep and spreadsheets. Wrapped it in butcher paper from the Elliott Bay Book Company. Tied with twine from the warehouse. Personal.
Real.
In a world of Amazon drones and ghosted texts, it was my middle finger to disposable everything. Dinner was textbook Norman Rockwell gone rogue. 20 of us crammed around the oak table I'd inherited from Grandma Harlan, turkey from a free-range farm in Yakima. Stuffing spiked with sage from my window box. Pies from a bakery in Pioneer Square that charges $12 a slice. Mark carved. Emily poured wine. My brother Lou cracked dad jokes about Biden's latest gaffe. Laughter bubbled like the Prosecco. But under it, tension hummed like power lines after a storm. Presents post-feast. Under the trees strung with LEDs that twinkled like Tacoma strip club neon. Kids ripped paper, squealing over Barbies and drones. Emily's turn, mine to her. Then hers to me, a monogrammed planner from Etsy. Boss Babe in Boston gold.
Cute.
Then the scarf. She peeled the paper slow, like undressing a bad date, and held it up to the light. The room hushed, waiting for the coup. Instead, that sneer. This is cheap looking. Did you knit this yourself or raid a flea market? Words landed like buckshot. Mark choked on his nog. Lou's fork clattered. The grandkids stared, wide-eyed. Emily didn't flinch, just folded it back in the paper, like toxic waste, and reached for the next gift. No offense.
June. Just.
Not my style. No offense. Offense was my middle name that night. I smiled, teeth gritted like birch bark, excused myself to the kitchen for more pie, leaned on the granite, breath ragged, staring at the Amana fridge humming hymns to normalcy. Flashback to the ER. Her bloodshot eyes. My signature on that plea deal. I'd borne her crime, lied to cops, judges, God himself for this? A $12 planner and a trash talk scarf? By midnight, as guests trickled out into the sleet, I was in my study, laptop glowing like a confessional. The fund was in my name, irrevocable trust. Sure, but with a CEO's loophole, performance clause for moral turpitude. I'd buried that clause deep, like her DUI in my rap sheet. One email to the fiduciary, citing breach of familial trust, and poof, funds liquidated, rolled into my personal 401k. $200,000.
Gone.
Hers no more. But revenge isn't a checkmate, it's a slow poison. As I hit send, Mark knocked. You okay, Mom? Em didn't mean it. His eyes pleaded. Same as that night in Tacoma. I hugged him, scarf still warm in my pocket. Of course.
Honey.
Merry Christmas. Little did he know, the real unwrapping was just beginning. January hit Seattle like a hangover, gray skies pressing down on Elliott Bay. Baristas slinging oat milk lattes to commiserate as bundled in North Face. I threw myself into work, site visits to clear cuts in the Olympics, where furs fell like dominoes and loggers in Carhartts nodded respect. Harlan Timber was thriving, contracts with Boeing for sustainable pallets. But inside, I was a live wire. Emily's barb festered, a splinter under my nail, and every night, replaying it, I'd end up in Tom's old recliner, nursing bourbon from a mason jar, plotting. She didn't apologize. Not a text, not a call. Posted stories instead. Holiday haul with pics of her real loot, a Louis Vuitton from Mark, AirPods from her sorority sis. The scarf? Absent. Mark mentioned it offhand over New Year's brunch at Matt's in the market, oysters on the half-shell, view of the ferries chugging to Bainbridge. Em's stressed with midterms. Cut her slack.
Slack.
I'd given her 5 years of it, plus a criminal record that still pinged on background checks for my board seat. That's when I started digging. Not paranoid digging, methodical, like auditing a timber yield. Hired a PI out of Bellevue, Ex-cop named Rizzo with a mustache like a 70s porn star and rates that'd make a lobbyist blanch. What are we chasing? Mrs.
Ash?
Discretion, I said. And dirt. He nodded, quoted me $5,000 retainer, and vanished into the ether. First hit, her phone records. Emily had been texting someone heavy late nights, 200+ messages a month. Number traced to Victor Lang, my ex-business partner. Vic, the silver fox with a yacht in Shilshole Bay and a handshake that closed deals over single malt at the Virginia Inn. We'd split 5 years back after he pushed for clear-cutting in old-growth stands. Progress.
June.
Not this tree hugger crap. I bought him out. But we stayed cordial, holiday cards, awkward nods at industry galas. Rizzo's report landed mid-February, Valentine's Day Eve, as rain lashed my floor-to-ceiling windows. Photos first. Emily and Vic at a dive bar in Fremont, her hand on his knee, laughter frozen mid-frame. Then hotel receipts, Hale House in Pioneer Square. 3 overnights last summer when Mark was on a site survey in Bend. Texts, pulled via some shady subpoena hack. Miss your hands on me. M's clueless. From Vic. You're fire.
Eminência.
Jay doesn't suspect. Jamie.
June.
Affair. Classic as a country ballad. But the kicker? Emails from Vic's corporate account, forwarded to Emily pre-wedding. He'd been feeding her intel, client lists, bid strategies. Harlan Timber lost the Weyerhaeuser subcontract in 20 because Vic underbid us by 2%, using numbers he'd swiped from my server. $1.2 million down the drain. Layoffs in Hoquiam that Christmas. I'd blamed market dip. Swallowed the loss like bad coffee. All while Emily cooed sympathies and spent the gift Vic funneled her on that sorority trip to Cabo. Betrayal squared. She'd played me from day one. Mark as the mark. Me as the mark's mark. And the accident? Rizzo dug deeper, dashcam from the minivan, scrubbed from evidence, but archived in PD files. Emily wasn't swerving for deer, she was texting Vic. On my way. Lover. Pack the bubbly. The kid who died? Little Tyler Jenkins. Freckles and a gap-toothed grin. Per the obit. His mom still sent me hate mail on anniversaries, addressed to the Killer MILF CEO. I confronted Mark over beers at Elysian Fields craft IPAs. Hipsters debating Seahawks trades. Your wife's screwing Vic Lang. Blunt as a maul. He laughed, then paled when I slid the printouts across the scarred oak bar top. Mom.
No.
It's a misunderstanding.
Deny.
Deflect, textbook. But his eyes? Wet. Like he'd known. She told me last year. Said it was a phase. We're in counseling. Counseling. At $250 a pop. Funded by my Christmas bonus check. Rage boiled. Hot as a mill boiler. And the fund. Mark? That's for her MBA. Not Vic's slush fund. He swore she'd changed. Begged me to talk to her. Family first. Mom. Like you taught me. Family. The word tasted like ash. I drove home via 520. Bridge lights blurring in the downpour. Radio droning NPR on the Boeing strike. Workers picketing for fair wages. Irony thick as fog. Pulled into the garage. Sat in the dark. Engine ticking cool. Flashed to county jail. 90 days of fluorescent hell. Bingo nights with meth heads. Accidentally spilling soup on my jumpsuit to hide tears. For her. For him. And this? Rizzo called next morning. Voice gravel over the line. More. Mrs.
Ash.
Vic's pushing a merger. Quiet buyout of Harlan. Using M as the whisperer. Merger? My company. My legacy. Served up on a platter by the girl I'd saved. I greenlit phase 2. Tail her. Bug the Audi. The works. $10,000 more. But worth every penny. March brought cherry blossoms to the U District, petals like confetti on wet pavement. Emily aced her comps. Posted selfies in the quad, boss babe. Tagline from that planner she'd gifted me. I attended the ceremony incognito. Ball cap and shades. Clapping from the back as she crossed the stage. Mark beamed, arm around her waist. Vic was there too. Front row. Clapping like a proud papa. Post-grad party at our house, catered from Canlis. Skyline views from the deck. I played host. Merlot in hand. Toasting to new beginnings while my phone buzzed. Rizzo's update. She'd deposited $15,000 from Vic into a Cayman account last week. Offshore. Untraceable, except to me. That's when the flip started. Emily cornered me in the powder room. Chanel no. 5 cloying as regret. June. About the scarf. I was wasted. Mark told me you pulled the fund. That's cold. Her eyes, blue as betrayal, dared me to crack. I smiled, slow, like unwinding yarn. Cold? Try manslaughter. Sweetheart. Drop the bomb, the dash cam still. Tyler's face circled in red. She blanched. Hand to pearls, fake ones. From Vic's generosity. You're bluffing. Whisper hiss. Am I? 5 years. Emily. I did time for you. Lied for you. And you repay me with pillow talk and pilfered bids. She lunged, slap aimed. But I caught her wrist. Nails digging crescents. Touch me. And that funds the least of your losses. She yanked free. Mascara smearing. You think you're saintly? Mark's not yours anymore. And that company? Vic's got dirt that'll bury you. Tom's accident? Not so accidental.
Boom.
Hook to the gut. Tom's death, chainsaw kickback, ruled misadventure. But whispers. Vic envied the partnership. Tampered with the guard? Paranoia. I'd dismissed. Now, she stormed out, party thumping on oblivious. Mark found me later. Whiskey neat in crystal. What happened? I told him, half-truths. The affair. The fund. Omitted the accident. That was her noose. He raged. Punched the deck rail. Splintering wood like bone. I'll end it. With her. With Vic. But his voice cracked. Love's a stubborn weed. April rains turned to drizzle. Daffodils pushing through mulch in my garden. I met Vic at his club Rainier. Old money and older grudges. Steaks charred rare. He slid into the booth. Cologne like money.
June.
Heard about the tiff. Smirked. Swirling scotch. Cut the shit. Victor. Emily's your mole. Call off the dogs. Or I go public. Affair. Theft. The works. He leaned in. Breath hot. Public? You torch your boy's marriage. And that fund?
Petty.
But Tom's files. I have them. Brake lines on the truck? Questionable.
Lie or truth?
His eyes danced. Fox to my henhouse. We arm-wrestled words. He flipped to ally. And the girl. Keep the peace. Then back to foe. hinting at bored coups. I left with a handshake and a headache, taillights fading into the viaduct crawl. Rizzo's bug caught it all. Emily on the phone that night.
To Vic.
She knows. Pulled a trigger on the merger. Cunning bitch, flipping scripts like channels on a Roku. By May, tension was barbed wire. Mark moved out, couch at my place, beer breakfasts and job hunts. Emily lawyered up. Emails from a Fremont firm demanding the fund's reinstatement. Emotional duress. I countered with a cease and desist. CCNG, Vic's board. Public? Not yet. But leaks, anonymous tips to the PIJ, whispers of CEO's harlot DIL. Summer solstice. Longest day. Shortest fuse. I drove to her apartment, Belltown walk-up. Views of the needle blinking accusatory. She answered in silk robe. Hair tousled like post-tryst.
June.
Come to grovel.
No.
To gut. Spread the files on her coffee table. Texts. Receipts. The dashcam grainy as guilt. Your future's ash. Emily. Fund.
Job.
Mark, all gone. She laughed. Brittle. You think this ends me? Vic's offering 7 figures for Harlan. And you? The drunk who killed a kid? 1 word from me. And you're done.
Stalemate.
She flipped again, tears. Please. I was lost.
June.
Vic used me. Like Tom used you, cheating with that secretary. Remember? Another bomb. Tom? Faithful as flannel. But doubt wormed in. She sensed it. Pounced. Ask Mark. He knew. I left shaking. Seattle's summer haze mocking my clarity. Revenge plotted. But threads tingling. Was she monster or mirror? And Vic, the puppeteer, laughing in the wings. June turned to July like a bad sequel, heat dome baking the sound. Ferries delayed by mirage shimmer. My AC unit wheezing like a dying logger. Harlan Timber's annual retreat was at Packwood Lodge. Cabins ringed by ancient cedars that whispered secrets to the wind. Board members' suits from Portland, flannel vets from Aberdeen, gathered for team building, ropes courses and trust falls that felt like farce. I was there. Khakis crisp. Smile welded on. But inside, a chainsaw idling. Mark tagged along. Consultant title-eyed invented to keep him close. No Emily, banished to solo reflection per their separation agreement. But she haunted. Text to him at 2 a.m. Miss you. Baby. Let's talk. He showed me. Deleted them. But his thumb lingered. Love's a junkie. Jonesing for the fix. Vic crashed the barbecue. Uninvited. Bottle of Napa Cab in fist. Charm dialed 211. June. Bury the hatchet. Handshake firm. Eyes scanning for weakness. The board lapped it up. War stories from the 90s boom. When we felled forests for Microsoft's campuses. I played along. Ribs smoked over alder. But under the picnic table, my boot ground is loafer like gravel. Merger's off.
Vic.
Or the press gets a Christmas present. Your intern's nudes with my DIL. He chuckled.
Low. Bluff.
But if you push. Tom's autopsy? Break fluid traces. Convenient. That kickback. He flipped. Confessor now. Leaning in over coleslaw. Look. I envied him.
But murder? Nah.
Sloppy engineering. Maybe. Blame the union. Truth or taunt. My gut twisted. Memories of Tom's flannel bloodied on the shop floor. Me scrubbing stains till my hands blistered.
Post-retreat.
Rizzo delivered gold. Audio from Emily's bug. Her call to Vic. Post-confrontation. June's cracking. Leak the Tom file. Scare her off the fund. Then. Softer. I love him.
Vic.
Mark. I mean. This was escape. Flip again victim. Vixen. Viper. She was a goddamn Rubik's Cube. Every turn a new face. I escalated. Hired a fixer. Ex-fed from Quantico. Rates in 4 figures daily. Frame job, I said. Plant evidence. Emily's prints on Vic's merger docs. Tie it to corporate espionage. Legal gray. But in America's winner-take-all, gray's the new black. He nodded. Vanished into shadows. August brought wildfires, smoke from California choking Seattle. Air quality unhealthy, masks mandatory at the market. Mark and I hiked Discovery Park. Salt air cutting the haze. Trails lined with salal berries bursting red. Mom, he said, skipping a stone into the tide. Em's pregnant, skipped heartbeat. 8 weeks. She told him his.
She swore.
Ultrasound pic on his phone, blob like a lima bean. Labeled Baby Harlan? World tilted. The fund? I'd yanked it for her MBA.
But now.
Grandbaby. My grandbaby. Revenge's razor edge nicked me. Poison pill or placebo? Mark pleaded. Give it back. For the kid. Eyes like Tom's. Hopeful pup. I hugged him. Brine with sweat and sea. Promised to think. Emily called that night. First direct since the slap. Voice small over the line. Rain pattering my roof like accusations. June, it's true. We're having a baby.
Pause.
Breath hitch. I fucked up. The affair. The words, everything. But this, us, family, flipped to familial. Hand on hypothetical belly. I listened, silent as a felled tree. The fund. I need it.
For us.
Please. Trap or truce. I agreed to meet neutral ground. Olympic Sculpture Park. Tourists milling like redwoods in fog. She waddled up, wait. No waddle yet. Just glowy cheeks and a sundress from Anthropology. Sat on a bench by the Eagle. Sound lapping concrete. I'm sorry, she started. The scarf? Lowest. You made it with love. I spat on it. Tears real. Salt mixing with sunscreen. I laid it bare. The accident. The jail. The cover. Her face crumpled. Horror. Then. Relief? You knew? God. June. I thought. Vic said you'd never find out.
Vic.
Again. He pushed me into it, all of it. The driving. The merger. Said if I didn't, he'd expose the text to Mark. Scapegoat Vic. Sane herself. But her hand on mine, warm, tentative, stirred something maternal. Messy. Then why the cheap jab? I pressed. Jealousy. You and Mark so tight. I wanted in.
But.
Failed. Vulnerability flip. Raw as a fresh cut. We walked. Sculptures looming like judges, Calder's curves mocking our knots. By the needle's shadow, I'd half convinced myself. Restore the fund. Co-parent the kid. Bury the hatchet in Vic's back instead. But Rizzo texted mid-stroll. Abort. Found her Cayman wire. To Vic. Dated yesterday. $5,000. Hush money memo.
Lie.
All of it. I wheeled. Face thunder. Pregnant? Or ploy? She froze. Doe eyes wide. June. Wait. I ghosted. Uber to the office. Chain smoking menthols out the window like it was 95. Mark called. She says you flipped. What's happening? Truth serum time. The wire. The flip-flops. Tyler's ghost. He hung up. Silent scream. Climax brewed in September, Labor Day weekend. Harbor Festival in Gig Harbor. Boats bobbing like corks. Brass bands blaring Sweet Caroline. Vic hosted the after-party on his yacht. Sirens call. Teak decks and tequilas flowing. Invite via Mark. Truce talk. Bring M. Trap? Maybe. But I loaded, figuratively, lawyer on speed dial. PI in the shadows. Merger docs forged and ready. Boarded at dusk. Diesel fumes and sunscreen haze. Emily there. Sundress swapped for sheath, bump barely showing. Or imagination. They clapped my back. June. Shots. Mark hovered. Beer in hand. Eyes pleading unity. Small talk soured quick, merger whispers. Tom's accident dangled like bait. Then Emily. Cornering me by the rail. I meant it. The baby, it's real. Ultrasound tomorrow. Vic interrupted. Arm around her waist, possessive. Ours.
June.
Surprise. Boom. Mic drop. Mark retched over the side. Chum for seals. Emily wailed. No. His. Fingers at Vic's throat. Nails raking. Chaos. Deckhands pulling. Guests gawking. Briny spray hissing truth. She flipped, attacking her lover. Defending the lie? Or truth serum spilling? Vic shoved her off. Crazy bitch. The kids leverage, your idea. Mark lunged. Fists flying. Classic bar brawl on AstroTurf. I watched. Frozen. As the fixer emerged from below decks, planted docks in Vic's cabin. Sirens wailing distant. Cops boarded at dusk's end. Blue lights strobing like lightning bugs on meth. Espionage charges for Vic. Assault for Mark. Emily hysterical in cuffs. It was his plan. The accident.
Tom.
All to bankrupt June.
Confession? Breakdown?
Readers. You pick. Monster unmasked or madness mercy. Yacht impounded. We scattered. Mark to ER for split knuckles. Me to the helm's glow. Steering into night. Revenge crested. But the wave? Crashing back. Foam of doubt. Was the baby real? Vic's spawn or salvation? And me, hero or heel? Pulling strings in the dark? October swept in like a squall. Gusts stripping maples to skeletons. Leaves clogging gutters in Fremont's hipster haunts. Harlan Timber's fiscal closeout was a bloodbath. Vic's merger torpedoed by the raid. His assets frozen pending indictment. Feds swarmed his yacht club. Suits with badges grilling deckhands like errant freshmen. Headlines screamed, Timber Tycoon in Espionage Scandal. PI front page. My name a footnote. Ex-partner's foe clears name. Cleared? Honey. I architected the damn thing. Sleepless nights. Bourbon baptisms. Wondering if karma's a boomerang. Mark crashed harder than a felled Douglas fir. ER stitches. Then psych ward voluntary, 30 days at Swedish. Lithium smoothies and group hugs. Dad's ghost. Mom, he mumbled over supervised calls. Voice cotton-mouthed.
Emily.
The baby. Did I fail them?
No.
Son. We all did. I visited Sundays. Smuggling contraband Starbucks, pumpkin spice. Seasonal stab at normal. Emily? Radio silence. But rumors, arraigned on conspiracy counts. Bail denied. Flight risk, the judge drawled, eyeing her Cayman wires. The ultrasound?
Real.
8 weeks. Healthy flutter. Paternity? Vix. Per the lab rush, his smug text to Rizzo's tap. Score 1 for the old man. But twist, Emily's lawyer filed for dismissal, claiming coercion. Abusive relationship, affidavit swore. Vic the villain. Her the victim, flip finale. Media ate it. Me Too millennial. Sorority petitions for her release. Public split. Harpy or heroine. Forums lit. Reddit's r/true crime calling her Black Widow. TikTok's sympathy stalking her mugshot. I waded in. Anonymous op-ed to the stranger. Forgive the fallible, but not the fraud. Vague enough to sting. Pointed enough to polarize. Comments erupted. And Miles a monster, jealous hack, versus. DL's a drunk driver, lock her up. Debate fuel. Baby. Exactly as plotted. November's gray deepened. Thanksgiving a solo affair. Turkey for one. Netflix's The Undoing on loop. Nicole Kidman mirroring my chic unravel. Mark discharged. Gaunt but grinning. Moved back to the McMansion, his old room. Posters peeling like skin. Therapy's good.
Mom. And.
The fund?
Can we?
Eyes hopeful. Hand on my knee. The fund. $200,000. Now mycelium in my retirement forest. Bonds blooming. Untouchable. For the baby? Grandbaby Vic?
Hell no.
But Mark. Half. I conceded. $100,000 trust. Irrevocable for education only. Administered by my shark attorney. No more games. He hugged fierce. Flannel scratching my cheek like forgiveness. Emily's trial loomed, December docket. Tacoma Federal. I testified. Truth serum for. The cover-up. The affair. The barbs. Courtroom wood-paneled. Like Tom's workshop. Judge a silver-haired vet with eyes like knotholes. Her lawyer painted me villain. Vengeful matriarch. Wielding wealth as weapon. Me. She wielded lies, stole my freedom. My family. My faith. Jury split, 6 women nodding my pain. 6 men eyeing her belly like absolution. Vic took the stand. Slick as ever. She seduced me. Merger madness. But the docs my plant sank him. 20 years. White-collar purgatory. Her turn. The flip that fractured. June saved me. Took my fall. I hated her for it. Envied her strength.
Vic.
He was escape from my mess. The baby? Leverage.
Yes.
But love? For Mark. Twisted. Sobs echoed. Bailiff handing tissues. Then the bomb. Tom's death? Vic bragged. Tampered caliper. Jealous rage. I heard it. Did nothing. For the merger. Gasps rippled. DA pounced. New charges brewing. Jury deliberated 3 days. Thanksgiving turkey cold in deliberation fridge. Per leaks. Verdict. Guilty on conspiracy. Lesser counts dropped for cooperation. 5 years. Suspended 3 with house arrest. Ankle monitor redux. Irony's gift.
Vic.
15. No parole. Baby due in March. Custody to Mark. Paternity flipped post-conviction. Lab. Error courtesy my fixer. Vic's spawn. But Harlan named. Kris Kringle came quiet. Small tree. LED ghosts. Emily released pre-holidays. Monitored to Mark's apartment. Truce tentative. Her knitting lessons for me. needles clicking like uneasy peace. The scarf? She wore it. Indigo waves on her swell. Not cheap, she murmured. Priceless. New Year's. We watched fireworks from Space Needle, bottle service. Cities sprawl glittering like redemption. Mark toasted, to knots untied. Emily clinked, eyes wary.
Me?
Silent sip. Wondering, happy ending or hiatus. She flipped less now, therapy tether, but secrets linger. Like sap in stumps. Twist's tail, Rizzo's final file. Slipped under my door January 1st. Tom's autopsy, brake fluid, trace contamination. Lab error. Vic's bluff. Borrowed from my jailhouse yarn. Emily knew, fed it to spook me. Last gambit. No murder. Just malice. But the baby? Hers and Mark's. Truly, Vic's paternity, a deep fake rush. Her lawyer's ploy for sympathy. Debate fodder. Was my revenge righteous? Or ruinous? I took her future, fund yanked. Life upended, but birth truth. Freed my son from fog. She betrayed deep. Crime on my ledger. Heart on her sleeve. But carried it. Birthed it. Into light. No heroes. Just humans hacking through underbrush. As cherry blossoms bud again, I knit in the garden new pattern. Anchors to anchors. Emily visits. Bump brushing lavender. Mark builds cribs from reclaimed fur. Family? Fractured.
Fierce.
American as apple pie a la mode. Sweet.
Tart.
Gone too soon if you're not watching. And the scarf? Still warms my neck on chilly eves. Not cheap. Never was.